All right.
Over the face. You know the rules. Jeez.
Clap, clap.
Clap, 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 clap.
You gotta tell him to subscribe.
You already did, didn't he?
Kind of did that. You know what? You gave me 20 seconds and I didn't. I should have said that they can get a free trial and they can sign up for a demo. I should have done that because they don't even know how to do that.
We can put that. We
All
can
right.
put.
Recording.
Yeah, that'll go in the beginning. I forgot to tell them to download it for free.
Yeah,
Tom, you're getting better at it. I'm worried.
I know.
Just so you know, the most popular part of this podcast is the Tom follies at the beginning
Yep.
and his failure to be able to introduce us.
All right, ready? All set. Why do you keep? Are you gonna drink while I'm introducing you, or
No.
if that's the plan, that's fine. But all right, ready?
All right.
Ready?
I'm ready. I've been ready. This is my third.
You keep drinking when I'm about to start.
Made me edit out the booze talk from the one.
The Joe Rogan experience around
It is
here.
really Joe Rogan, but there's no illicit narcotics. just booze.
I mean, Tony's pour was.
Oh my goodness. He slowed down the rum chata pour speed.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
would have fooled me.
what? Everybody likes 7 fingers of rum chata with their coffee.
A splash of coffee.
It was still black.
All right.
All he does
This is going better though. This is going
It's
maybe
a-
1% better. So.
is 1% better.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Planning Desk Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Burmeister, joined by my co-host, Mr. Purple, Tony Steek. What's up, man?
Not much, Corey. What's your name again? Tom. Tom. I was talking about our first guest. This is exciting for the very reason that we have our first ever
In studio.
in-studio guest. And so we're super excited to have him. It's actually Corey Westphal, which is why I said hi to Tom as Corey. So we're going to have a really cool talk today about practice management, technology that solves that problem, but also a little bit about Corey. So this is different, though. We're drinking.
We are.
Corey, this was the
Not
rule.
that different.
It's okay. It's not that different, but it's different because now people can see it. Corey's here. Corey Westphal, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, you guys.
Of course, we're glad to have you. The deal was, if you want to come on the show and you're local, you had to bring your favorite local brew. So tell us about the beers we are drinking.
Well, I love the idea, and there's not a shortage of amazing breweries in Wisconsin, that's for sure. So I thought I'd mix it up. I brought an Oso brewery, which is right in my town of Madison, and included a Milwaukee brewery.
Yeah, third space.
Third space, which is awesome, and then Three Sheeps, which is out of Sheboygan, I believe.
Sheboygan, yep. About halfway between Milwaukee and Green Bay, right?
Yeah. So I thought that those would be some good selections to get us started.
Very good.
This is good. I like this. This will break the ice a bit, and it's a nice little nod to the local brewers here in the Wisconsin area. And you're here. So you are, NaviPlan's home base is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. FinTech capital of the world, as we say.
Mm-hmm.
And just about an hour away, you are in the town of
Wanakee.
So it's right outside of Madison, right?
It is. It's just North Madison, and we've got our corporate headquarters is right downtown.
Yep.
I believe you sent out a Twitter picture of it at one point.
I did.
You were dining at the Lone Girl right on
Which is
Main
a brewery,
Street.
isn't
Yes,
it? Yes,
is.
another brewery.
Another good brewery.
This is the theme.
Yeah, and set a cool picture of MobileAssistant sign on the other side of
I love that. I had no idea that you were. I mean, I knew you were in the Madison area. My sister lives in Wanakee, but I had no idea you were downtown, right on the strip, on that second floor, or is that third floor, whatever that is, with the signage. I thought that was really cool to see. Yeah. So we're here to talk about MobileAssistant, but first we want to learn a little bit more about Corey.
Yeah. So, Corey, what we're going to do here, just very quickly, kind of rapid fire, a couple questions. Just say whatever comes to mind. I'll kick it off. Ready? Hometown.
Dubuque, Iowa.
Dubuque, Iowa. Favorite vacation spot.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, and Galena's right there. So my favorite vacation spot, I would have to say, is Augusta, Georgia. Kind of
very
fitting
timely,
for today.
yes.
I was actually going to ask your favorite golfing course, but I guess I'm not going to ask that now.
Let's go with first job.
Screen circuit board printer.
right.
Screen circuit board printer.
Literally like a factory job.
Yeah.
Go in and screen print these circuit boards. They would take them and put them into this giant heater, burn off the paint, and then put them into circuit boards of some kind. So yeah, that was my first. It was my first real. I could say my real job. I was a tennis player, so I taught tennis growing up.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think you can really count that as a first job though.
Yeah.
So.
That's an awesome job, though. I mean, all right. So maybe you're gonna answer this already, but what's your pastime? Like, if you want to unwind from work, what do you do? Is it?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. Well, I'm a golfer for
Okay.
sure. Love to go out and have a cigar and spend some time with some good friends. And but honestly, my favorite pastime these days is watching my kids play their sports. Like,
Okay.
I've got a 10-year-old son that plays hockey, and there's nothing more fun.
That's
than
awesome.
watching him compete. So that's
Nice.
a lot of fun.
Very cool.
Let's go with favorite album as a kid, or cassette, or whatever the format was.
I tell you what, I think I'm gonna go with Depeche Mode Violator.
All right.
We're gonna go way back. It's
Wow.
gonna date me a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. Very cool. Very cool. And you talked about bourbon. You brought this in too. This is Three Oaks Distillery.
Yeah.
This is out of Dubuque. And tell me more about this.
Yeah, so the Three Oaks Distillery is my father's bourbon. And
Oh, wow.
I worked, it's got a special place in my heart because I worked with my dad for 16 years. He started the company with me back in 1998, and he retired 7 years ago, and he has to have something to do at all times of the day. So what better thing to do than to start up a distillery and spend time really working on his craft, which is making good bourbons. So yeah, that's the Three Oaks Distillery, and he's done a great job with it.
Well, I'm grateful for that. And I think that was actually really interesting. 16 years ago. So when we get back, let's talk about that. Let's talk about those 16 years of how, the industry challenges that are presenting themselves in our space and how we need to find ways to improve that. So when we come back, more with Corey Westphal from MobileAssistant, talking about the industry challenges that advisors are facing.
So we're back on the planning desk with Corey Westphal, CEO of MobileAssistant. Thanks again for joining us, man. So we're going to dive right into some industry issues that I think are very critical to the rest of the discussion today. So we talk to thousands of advisors every year, even this year, and we look at tons of studies and things like that. And as long as I've been in this industry, which is coming up on 8 years now, every single study focuses on advisor efficiency, and advisors always want to improve their efficiency, or what's the biggest thing that you need to change or improve about your practice. It's practice management type stuff, or all of the things that they could pick, and all of the technology that's out there to do that. So could you talk a little bit about how you see advisor efficiency sort of evolving, and even where it's come in the last several years, and how technology is positioned to actually make some real improvements there? Because this stuff keeps coming up year after year, so we haven't made any huge strides, it doesn't seem like.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I really think that for advisors, they can be overwhelmed when it comes to technology because there's so much, and there's so many new, really great tools that get introduced on an annual basis. But really kind of stepping back and look at your tech stack and understand what's working together and how everything should be working together is one of the main things that we try to educate the advisors that we work with about. Is you might have your dictation service and your CRM and your financial planning software, but are they working together to make it really seamless and make it the most efficient? It's amazing to me how many really well-intentioned advisors and advisors' offices, they have so much technology around them, but they're really not sure how it all ties together. So that would be I think that's one of the biggest shifts that I've seen, at least over the years, is advisors are getting much smarter about how everything works together and how to integrate those technologies.
Yeah, and I think one other topic that's been a consistent mainstay really since 2015 with the Department of Labor's fiduciary rule, and now Reg BI and things like that, compliance and documenting the rationale behind the advice that you're giving. Whatever flavor it's evolved to, it's all centered around that concept. and that's just another thing now that advisors have to do, and have to do in a very specific way. So can you talk about how you think about compliance when it comes to introducing more opportunities for efficiencies with advisors as well?
Yeah, whether it's the DOL rule or Reg BI, there are unknown regulations that come up. It seems like constantly for advisors to deal with, and I think the staple of the compliance aspect for advisors to always think about and have in really at the forefront is documentation. No matter what the regulation is, the information that they are gathering from their client interactions, if they're not taking the time to have some kind of a process in place to make sure they're accurately detailing that interaction, like that's where the gap is.
Big time.
And so having the tools in place to help them to do that is, I think that's one of the most important aspects of what we do for the advisory community, is just giving them an easy way to capture and accurately document those interactions. So.
Yeah, and it's actually really interesting when you think about the call for documentation and the call for accurate note-taking to validate your advice, product sales, whatever that is. It just goes to show that the advisor's value sits across the coffee table. The advisor's value is strong in the boardroom. The advisor's value is strong networking and growing those relationships, not taking notes, not doing all the back office work. And the statistics are alarming that many advisors are still devoting so much time to back office work. And quite frankly, that's problematic, right? I mean, these advisors need to be doing what? What should be focusing their time on? And my question is kind of two parts. One, how should they be allocating their time, right? And how should they break free from the concept of I have to do it all?
Right. Those are great questions. And from my perspective, we were in the medical transcription industry for 16 years prior to the financial industry providing dictation. Doctors focus on patient care, right? They don't spend time typing their patient notes when they get done seeing one of their patients, right? Their time is best spent, working with their clients, which are their patients. The same concept is true for financial advisors. Why, the time that they're spending at a computer trying to type information that they are recalling from a meeting they might have had that morning, when they've already had 3 other meetings since then, it's not only an inefficient use of their time, but it's also losing opportunities. Because one of the things that I think is utmost important when it comes to those client interactions that you're talking about is, advisors shouldn't be taking a bunch of copious notes during their meetings. They should be focused on the client, engage with them. And then when they're done, though, when they walk away from that meeting, whether it was a phone call or an in-person meeting or a virtual call, having all that information in the short-term memory, there has to be a way to get that information documented quickly. And what easier way to do that than to dictate it and just speak your notes and speak all that information. Much more efficient use of their time than spending time typing it or handing over notes that are, chicken scratch, if you will. Like I know what my handwriting looks like.
Sure.
If I handed notes over from one of my client meetings to an assistant, for instance, and said, "Here, can you please put this into the record in the CRM for this client?" There's going to be so much missed information because either there's not enough detail or you just can't read it. And so that's where, for me, it just, using a dictation service like ours just really does replace the need for, the assistant's time spent trying to understand the notes from the advisor, or the advisor just spending that time typing their notes.
You actually bring up a really good point that I didn't even think about before today, and maybe it's a value prop that MobileAssistant uses, but an advisor should be making eye-to-eye contact as much as possible. You're part of the empathy process, right? Part of the understanding process, right? But if you are feverishly taking notes, right, on a keyboard or a yellow pad, what does that do? It creates a bit of disconnect. Now, as a client, you must understand, okay, they have to take notes, but how great of an example of like, hey, no more notes, or limit the notes, right? And work on that relationship.
Well, and our short-term memory it's good, but it doesn't last very long. Like there's studies out there that show that after an hour, 2/3 of your short-term memory is gone.
Yep.
Right? So if an advisor is leaving a client meeting with all this great information, and maybe they have some outlined notes to kind of remind them of some key action items after that meeting, but if they have a way or a vehicle, if you will, of capturing the information quickly right after, that could be in the car, it could be in an empty meeting room, but getting that information from that short-term memory into text, into documentation, it's amazing how much more detail gets gathered when that happens within an hour after a client meeting.
Well,
awesome.
and let's be real. You use the example of a meeting from earlier that morning, but it's in all likelihood maybe a meeting from last week that we're trying, because people do that in chunks. Like I got to catch up on my meeting documentation and stuff like that, and they're going back. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, now we're probably dropping into single-digit percentages. Is probably like as far as what they're remembering and how much they're capturing, and they might capture the facts, but what they're not capturing is those little ideas that maybe popped into their head that aren't necessarily critical to documentation, but in terms of like strategically kind of guiding clients or understanding where you want to take them next and kind of documenting that in real time. All that's gone.
Well, something that's made a big impact for advisors when I've told this story is how does that really, like everybody understands it saves them some time, right? They don't spend a half an hour typing. Maybe it takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes to speak their notes. But what's the impact on the actual AUM for an advisor when it comes to really good documentation? We had a case study done a couple of years ago where there were 1,000 advisors that they polled that were using us, and they compared it to the advisors that weren't. And advisors that were using our service on a regular basis for their meeting notes showed $400,000 more in AUM that year.
Wow.
And so you talk about like directly correlating your documentation to actual, AUM or opportunities, because it's the AUM increase is just opportunities, right? I mean, if they're not getting the information documented, they're not seeing those opportunities. That's where they're suffering or where they're exceeding because they have that information, they can act on it.
Yeah, and I think another trend that we've seen a ton of is team-based advisors. So I think you work with an advisor team, right? So, and if you're truly going to act like a team, you really need to be able to seamlessly transition from one to the other. Somebody's out on the golf course, phone call into the other team member or team members. I mean, it's so critical to be able to very quickly figure out kind of what happened during the last conversation, last meeting, and then be able to pick it up from there and run with it. Otherwise, what's the point of a team, really? Then you're just kind of dividing up the clients in half, which is more so the old model anyway, right?
Well, now you're talking my language. When you start talking about teams, the biggest shift in our focus as a company has been from the individual advisor to looking at what advisors are dealing with on a daily basis from a team aspect. Now, not only fellow advisors within their office, but their team members, right? Their assistants, the people that are helping to coordinate their schedules, following up on the action. It's all connected, and so the teams are absolutely have made just a giant impact for us, and shifting our focus to that and trying to understand their workflow process, how we fit into that, has been a game changer for us.
It's a perfect point, though.
Thank
right?
you.
Like if someone's gone, I want, when I'm calling one of my advisors, part of that team, I want them to know exactly what happened. I don't have to bring it up again, right? So having meaningful notes that are within the CRM that come from, say, dictation service like MobileAssistant, that's perfect. I think that's awesome. So let's shift gears just a little bit. I mean, we just got done with a global pandemic. It's not, I mean, we can argue whether or not it's done, right? Yep. But yeah, so we all got our shots. I've had it, right? So we're coming out of that. But everyone's predicting that there's a shift. Everyone's predicting that we're not going to necessarily go back to normal, right? Which was boardroom conversations, which was kitchen table conversations. We're going to still have that without question, right? The human desires interaction, right? But we're going to see a lot more of the virtual. And how is this going to change there as well? Over the next 10 years, when you kind of look out over the next 10 years, what shifts are you seeing in the industry that way?
I think you hit it on the head in that even though we might be getting back to some new normal, when we can start having more interactions like this, which is fantastic, by the way. It is so nice to not to be looking at you guys on a screen and actually be in person. But advisors, in my mind, just need to be really aware that they're going to need to be flexible with how they interact with their clients, because their clients still are going to want to have that communication. They want to have that personal touch. That's what sets advisors apart from any other type of solution, right? When it comes to financial, advice. But being able to be flexible with clients, if they're more comfortable virtual, great. Here's a Zoom link. Let's meet that way. You want to meet in person? Let's do that. I think that there's a lot of people that are not going to be comfortable meeting in person, maybe for years. And so
we all are 6 feet apart.
yeah,
Right.
Yes.
Full disclosure, all 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
Except for our group photo afterward. But.
So I think when it comes to changing behavior, especially as it relates to getting a lot better about documentation, notes, or whatever application I think dictation could play a role in. I think, first of all, advisors, everybody wants to be better at everything. They want to be better at marketing, and this year is a resolution for that. They also want to be better at this. So first of all, you got to pick one thing to focus on, get better at that, and then move on to the next thing. But when it comes, so let's say we have identified that one thing to focus on, and we want to get much better about on the documentation side, sharing information amongst our team and things like that. What's the best way to approach that once you've decided that I really got to get better at this? We think we found the right technology to do it. There's still a lot of change management that goes into that, both mentally, personally, and technically, professionally, and all that kind of stuff too. So what kind of advice do you give to folks that are ready to take that jump?
Well, I'd say it's just like any company that advisors are looking to add some new technology to their workflow is leverage the company that they're going to be using for their advice and their best practices. So we've had tremendous success with building our client success teams so that we have demos that are available for advisors. Instead of just trying to learn about dictation and what their peers are doing, they hop on a 20-minute, half an hour demo with a live person at our company who talks them through what does this look like in my routine? What does this look like in my process? How do I incorporate templates, which I'll get into later, I'm sure. Those are the things that I think are so important for advisors, not to feel like they have to do it on their own. Advisant has a great customer service team to be able to help guide advisors through the process of implementing the software, right? And so advisors just need to keep that in mind. I mean, that's part of what we do as technology companies is we try to make sure that we're there for the advisors to help get them acclimated for this new technology they're going to be using.
Yeah, I think some great parallels here. I mean, we talked about, even in the first episode, we talked about conferences and ROI, and you can't just expect to show up at a conference and have the ROI come to you. I mean, you'll get a couple pens, but you might not get the best experience if you don't put some planning and some thought into it ahead of time. And the same thing with technology. I mean, it's, making the decision to purchase the right technology is one thing, but yeah, I mean, just logging in and having it is the very first step in the process. And there's so much more to actually getting that ROI. And I think a lot of people just expect the ROI to come find them as soon as they pull the trigger, which would be great, but it's just not the case, right?
Right.
All right, enough talk. That was enough. We outlined a lot of industry problems, and we've kind of identified many key traits of what an advisor can do to be successful. So when we come back from the break, let's dig into MobileAssistant, the company, and then we're going to do a really cool new segment around the demo. So
yes.
When we come back from the break, more with Corey Westphal from MobileAssistant. Welcome back from the break here at the Planning Desk Podcast with Corey Westphal. We talked a bit about industry trends. We talked a bit about, the new normal, if you will. And now we want to dive in to the software and who MobileAssistant is. So, Corey, my first question for you, just tell us a bit about, MobileAssistant, who you are, how you're made up, just give us a history.
Sure. So, MobileAssistant's been around for a decade now in the financial industry, providing dictation services for advisors. But prior to that, we were a medical transcription company only for 16 years. The reason why that history, I think, is incredibly important for us as a company is it really set the core values, which is that we have, human U.S.-based transcriptionists that are actually performing the work. And so unlike a lot of the software solutions you hear about, the Dragons of the world, Siri, for anyone that's used that type of solution for dictation, you know that you spend more time cleaning up the dictation than you do actually speaking your notes. And so that's really the foundation of our company is still the people. We have over 100 employees throughout the country.
100, wow.
Yeah, and we were really fortunate in that with all of the the issues with the pandemic this last year, it obviously affected people in so many different ways, and companies that were not set up in a remote environment from a workforce standpoint, it obviously had a huge impact. We were fortunate in that we were already set up like that. We were the cool, work from home solution before it was cool, I guess. But our transcriptionists, because they are around the country, we provide support for advisors in all different time zones, and it's made a big impact for us last year especially, because we didn't have to try to figure out how to keep our operations running as smoothly as they always have from the remote environment, because we were already in that operation standpoint. So that from that standpoint, it really served us well this last year. There's a huge spike in the amount of client meetings that advisors were having this last year.
Oh yeah.
Because checking in, making sure that your clients are okay. Well, because of that, we really had to make sure that we were there for advisors to still deliver the notes back as quickly as we had in the past when they were needing us the most. So I'm really proud of our team, especially this last year, for being there and making sure that we were going to still perform at the highest level and not miss a beat when it came to how we were documenting the client interactions for our.
That's great. So nationally, which means you have kind of more hours of service, right? You get to kind of pick the best, right? The passionate individuals that this is what they want to do, right? And so they're just spread out, right? So you just have this kind of national workforce. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and we really do. I think we recruit and we retain the very best transcriptionists in the country, and the reason why we do that is they're employees of our company. We have benefits. They're not independent contractors that are working, every other weekend.
Oh wow!
And so it provides an incredible amount of stability for us as a company to have a workforce that we can count on every day, that will be there and really able to get the work done that comes in from the advisors when they need us.
That's really cool. I didn't know that. I mean, to have the full-time employees like that, that's pretty awesome.
So when a user, I'm dictating, I say, yet another meeting with Tony, wasn't really sure what he was asking. We'll have to follow up on that later. Hit the button. What's the process like from there as far as turnaround time, what it looks like, and things like that?
Right. So we give our clients a couple different ways of interacting with us, and a way of capturing their information from speaking their notes. They can either call our dictation line, or they can use our mobile app, which we've put a lot of work into over the years to make it a pretty amazing experience. Because instead of just hitting the record button and speaking their notes, which they can do, we provide them some structure now with the form of built-in templates. And that's made a huge impact in just structuring the information that's getting captured from the advisors. So, it's amazing to me that, 22 years in the transcription industry, the process was done really the same way 20 years ago as it was today, in that you hit record and you speak your notes. There's no structure, there's no guide. We really felt like we needed to change that, and that's what we did a couple years ago by implementing templates.
Sure. So the way I think a lot of us think of templates in terms of a document that we're using on the computer. So tell us a little bit more about how templates play a role in the transcription industry.
Sure. So the innovation that we needed to come up with was, how do we incorporate the idea of scripts, if you will, into the dictation process? So you could say templates, scripts. In other words, we're trying to find a way of guiding the advisor through the process by giving them the question and then letting them answer it. And how do you do that in an efficient way? Well, you build it into your mobile app, and that's what we did.
Okay.
So we now have a template library that's built into the Talk It mobile app, that instead of just hitting record and unstructured, speaking your notes, you click on the assistant, you click on a template, and the templates will actually display the questions as you scroll through and you record your notes. And so not only does it provide the structure for the advisors, but it provides the structure for our transcriptionists too, because now everything is in the same format, and when the information is delivered back to the advisors, it's all formatted and structured in a way that's easy to find the information, it's easy to communicate action items, next steps, because it's not a bunch of information in one big paragraph, we actually have the ability now to give advisors the opportunity to really structure the data so that they can really get the information communicated to their teams in a really efficient way.
That's really cool. So like these templates not only function as kind of post-meeting process, right? Breaking down those notes into kind of digestible formats, but it also can be pre-meeting. So almost like prep, like let's look over the template, make sure I'm asking the right questions. It even helps onboard new advisors. So there's multi-functions to that technology.
Yes, absolutely. And so we do have 4 templates that are built into the assistant library. So they're there, they're already built. There's nothing for the advisor to do. But one of the things that's been a big help is the ability to customize their own. So being able to create their own templates that are based on what their needs are. So, advisors have different questions that they want to make sure they're going to ask after every meeting. Well, they have the ability to customize as many templates as they want. And from a team level, we've worked a lot in the last year with teams to organize templates and build them out so that they're already in place for the advisor team. That's been, I think, one of the most influential impacts that we've had when it comes to our service is the implementation of those templates from a team hierarchy. That it makes everything, it structures all the data for the office, so that when the advisors are using our service, it's all, they're capturing the right information and they're capturing it in a way that's structured.
That's really cool, because when you think about it, Tom, like we have on the NaviPlan platform, we have 100,000 plus advisors, right? And we have some of the largest enterprise companies in the world, right? And many of them, they use the same software, but they use a different approach to how they provide advice.
Oh, yeah.
So imagine how this could work. I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, I think of some of our larger customers that they have a very specific advice, like questionnaire process and advice process, because they have perfected the ability to provide that. So those templates, so you can actually create your unique templates. So you're team-based or maybe your larger RIA, and you've kind of figured out the magic way to ask questions to make sure you're getting all the right answers, but maybe you're leading them to the right form of advice, but also onboarding new advisors, right? How much easier will it be than if you can create your own templates when you're onboarding new advisors?
Oh, it's been huge because by working with the RIAs and the bigger offices out there that are looking for a way of helping those new advisors that come on, this has given them a way of giving them stepping stones that they can hand over to the advisors, say, this is the process that works. And this is the process and the questions that are really important that you need to make sure you're going to document after every one of your client reviews, your phone calls. They can have different templates for the different types of meetings. And so it's been a lot of fun because we've been able to have such a good impact for these teams that they didn't know that this technology existed, and so showing it to them and then helping them to understand how this can impact the workflow for the advisors and get it standardized, I think is one of the biggest reasons why templates have made the impact they have.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
So we kicked off the conversation talking about earlier about the advisor tech stack, and I think there's always been a lot of options in the various kind of traditional categories of a tech stack, and that's been daunting in and of itself, but the number of categories even that now the tech stack really spans has grown as well. So you mentioned that technology is really only as good as its ability to talk to and integrate with the rest of the systems that you're using on a regular basis, because there are so many. So talk about how your philosophy has evolved with that, and how MobileAssistant integrates with the rest of an advisor's tech stack.
Yeah, well, so if we go back to the medical transcription world, it was essential that as a dictation service, we integrated with all the electronic record systems out there, because that's where the notes need to end up, right? So when we got into the financial industry, I remember the day that I went to the first event, like 11 years ago, and I saw Redtail, the Redtail CRM booth, and I went up and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they explained to me how the CRM really worked for the advisors and what their function was. I'm like, this is a no-brainer. Like, we absolutely need to integrate with this company to make sure that the notes don't just get delivered back by email, but they go where the advisor needs them.
Sure.
They need to go into the CRM. So For us, our biggest integration partners are the CRM companies, because that's where the notes need to reside. That's where they need to end up after they dictate.
And that's really the hub, right? So like we integrate with, of course, Redtail and all the other major CRM providers, but Redtail, near and dear to our heart too. They're a great partner of ours. And that's where it all sits, right? But then tell us a little bit of how you see that manifesting into the planning process. So think about a NaviPlan advisor. Just how does that kind of manifest? Because, MobileAssistant comes into Redtail, right? And then we integrate with Redtail. Like, how does that process work?
Yeah, so, the integration that we have with Redtail is pretty great in that it's pretty customizable, and that we can have the notes directly entered into the contact record. So if you speak the name of the client at the beginning, had a meeting, with Corey Westphal today, that meeting note is going to go directly into the contact record.
Holy cow.
They can
That's really cool.
They can also create activities, which that's one of the best features of our integration.
Who's they though? Tell me more.
Advisor.
Okay, cool.
So from the dictation, they can at the beginning of the dictation say, make this an activity for Corey Westphal. So now instead of the note being entered into Redtail in the contact record, it gets put in under the things to do today section as an activity. So think about the advisor's routine when it comes to like what do they need to accomplish after their client meetings. First, they need to recap that meeting, right? So they need to get all the details from a compliance standpoint that will be put into the contact record and memorialized. The next thing that they need to accomplish are action items, right? What needs to get done after that meeting? So advisors are using us to first do that recap. The note goes directly to the contact record. And then second, they do another note that's an activity. And that is their action items, their next steps that they're communicating to their team. And so being able to, really streamline that process where they can literally get both of those action items done from their mobile app by just speaking their notes, it's been a huge time saver.
Wow. So if you think about your best power users, financial advisors, the ones that have bought into the notion of dictation, they've built out some of the templates that really are structured in a way that they want to model their advice that they're giving to clients. What's some of the best feedback or the things that they have benefited the most from really buying into this process?
Honestly, I think it's the buy-in from the team members, because all of a sudden, the assistants don't need to go into Redtail and go into the notes section and try to find the information that's important to them that they need to act upon. There's literally an activity waiting in Redtail for them that the advisor has dictated after the recap of the meeting that has just the instructions that need to be accomplished after the meeting. It's been huge, because then now there's that communication that's efficient and effective, and it's not done in a way that you dictate a recap of a meeting and then you expect people to your team to go in and try to find the important information. Utilizing the templates has been a huge reason why that's helped, is that by segmenting out the information, it's not hard to find the information anymore, right? You get the information from the advisor, from the short-term memory, and then get it in a structured way so that the team that they're working with can act on it. That's been a huge benefit.
All right. Well, I got to see this, and the way we're going to do that is through a new segment called You Got 5, right? So, a very great way to just get a nice overview of the technologies that we're going to feature on the Planning Desk podcast, and if you could do it in less, even better. But it'll be a great way to not only get a quick overview, understand how it could fit in with your practice, and how you might introduce it to the rest of your team as well. So when we get back, Corey Westphal, CEO of Planning Assistant on You Got 5. All right, so we're back in the Planning Desk with Corey Westphal, CEO of MobileAssistant, not Planning Assistant. Great feature in NaviPlan, but MobileAssistant is the name of the company. Wouldn't be a podcast show if I didn't mess something up. So check that box, probably multiple times. But so we're back with our inaugural edition of the You Got 5 segment, which I'm super excited about. So let's put 5 minutes on the clock, Guthrie. Corey Westphal, take it away.
Love it. Thank you. So MobileAssistant provides an easy way for advisors to capture, structure, and document their client interactions. That's what we do. And we really did set out to try to change the way that advisors think about how the dictation process works with the introduction of assistant templates. Templates are built into our Talk It mobile app. so that they're able to have structured, organized, detailed dictation without feeling like they had to try to remember everything on their own. They can have templates, they can use templates that we've already built into the app, or they can customize their own. And so I'm going to show just a 60-second clip to give some visual to what this looks like.
This is the Talk It app by MobileAssistant. It helps capture thoughts and important details after every client meeting. To start, find a quiet place. Shh. Next, hit record and start talking. It's that simple. And with the all-new built-in assistant, it takes structured and straightforward note-taking to the next level. Just select a template or create a new one. Hit record and the assistant's right there to help,
That's really cool right there.
guiding you through your dictation with a list of customizable questions. Now that is simple. Once you've submitted your note, you'll receive your transcription within 1 business day. Delivered to you through our support of popular CRM integrations or right through the app. From there, you can search and view your notes on the go. And it's all thanks to our network of US-based human transcriptionists, not robots. Talk, don't type, only with MobileAssistant.
That's crazy. 1 minute. I mean, so you got 5, right? And that's the policy here is you got 5. We're allowed to rapid fire you questions. Tom pointed out it's a one finger kind of thing.
Yeah.
How cool is that? So this integrates with who?
A lot of the CRMs out there,
Okay.
so Redtail, Wealthbox, Salesforce, Advisor's Assistant, so pretty much the main CRM players in the financial industry.
But you don't need an integration though, right? Because you still get the documentation.
Correct. So the way that we deliver the notes back to our clients is twofold. We send them back in the form of an email. So it'll be in the body of the email, will be the entire transcript. We also make the notes available on the mobile app. So within the notes section of the mobile app, you also have a searchable section that you can search for the client name and be able to pull up your notes on the go. So we've made it really mobile access so that you don't have to go to a computer, log into your CRM to pull up the notes for your client. Within a few seconds, you've got access to literally every dictation,
And you
every
have it.
note.
You have it right there.
I do.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So this is what the notes section, looks like. And so if I am meeting with Corey Westphal and I want to pull up the last dictation I have, there it is. And so we have all of the notes, and they're all time and date stamped. They're also available online. So we have a Talk It online environment as well. So advisors can log into their from our website to view and access all their notes. They can resend the notes from there. But from a compliance standpoint, they're not changeable. They're not editable. So it really is a memorialized, compliant documentation that they can rely on. So they can take the dictation or the notes from online and forward it to themselves and make changes if they need to. But we will always have that version that's the original online.
So what I've liked the most about kind of learning about this is the fact that you took this concept of transcription dictation that really hadn't seen any innovation in who knows how long, and you've consistently added more and more to it. And I'm sure you're not done either. So can you tell us a little bit about what you're planning for the rest of 2021 and beyond?
Man. I wasn't even going to talk about it because I don't like to talk about things that aren't here yet. But one of the biggest projects that we have that I think will make a big difference for advisors that we should have done mid-year this year is making the template management and the ability to customize new templates. Right now that resides on the mobile app. So you have to log into Talk It Mobile, and you create a template.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Oh,
1 minute.
1 minute.
1 minute.
Yeah,
Okay.
1 minute.
So instead of going through the Talk It Mobile, you'll be able to. We're building it into Talk It online. So you'll be able to log into our website, go to the Assistant Template Manager, and be able to create templates there. And from a team standpoint, we're going to give people the access to have admin rights to be able to, for instance, have templates that are created that are pushed out to the entire team. So now an admin can log into Talk It Online, build templates for the advisor team, and push them out to the entire
All right,
team.
20 seconds left. Anything else you want to talk about? And you got 5.
I just appreciate you guys having me. Seriously, this has been great, and I think from an innovation and technology standpoint, I think financial technology companies like ours, I love that we're always just pushing to try to come up with something that will help advisors, because that's really, at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do here, is we're trying to make life easier. We're trying to make things more efficient for advisors. So love the things that you guys are doing at NaviPlan and Advicent too.
I'd cut his mic, but he was praising us.
How cool. Yeah, don't cut his mic. Yeah, pull him off. How cool was that? Our first edition of You Got 5, right, where we give everyone 5 minutes to pitch their product. But how, just in general, the conversation was really, really fruitful. It felt good to be in person, Corey. We get to hang out at trade shows and conferences and events, but it felt good to kind of have someone in. We got some beer, right? Some
beer.
local brews, which was pretty
brews,
awesome.
yeah.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Wow, episode 4 in the books.
In the books.
So for those who didn't get a chance, right, if you're not watching us on YouTube, if you're downloading us from your podcast episode for the You Got 5 segment, go to the show notes. You can actually pull up the video, kind of pull up those 5 minutes. You can watch it, of course, on our YouTube channel. And finally, make sure to follow us all on Twitter. Follow Corey on Twitter at MobileAssistant. Make sure you check out his website. And we're going to announce today that our strategic partnership is starting, and we're kicking that off with a webinar on April 27th. So just shortly after this podcast drops, we're going to it'll be MobileAssistant, NaviPlan, and Redtail, right? So a really cool trifecta of technologies and how FinTech is kind of changing the way we are helping advisors manage their practices, be better at their business. So I'm your host, Tony Steek. Tom, my co-host, with our guest
What's the
today,
name of our
Corey.
podcast? What should they do?
Our podcast is the Planning Desk. We're out. Thank you.